Our next candidate is Lucinda DiNovo. Lucinda, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Alice. I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters of Coos County for hosting this event. For those of you who do not know me, I have called Coos Bay home for the last 25 years. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Mill Casino Hotel and RV Park, and through my position at the Mill, I've had the great privilege of promoting this beautiful area to visitors far and wide. My approach to governing is through a collaborative process. I believe collaboration and open communication allow us to find the best outcome to any situation. I was newly elected in 2016, and I'm incredibly proud of the work that Council has accomplished these last 4 years. Some of the work I'm most proud of is our work to improve city streets and roads. In 2019, Council passed a transportation utility fee for street and road improvements. Utilizing those funds along with other resources, we've invested over $7.5 million into street and pothole rehabilitation during my term. I'm proud of our focus on economic development. We updated the Front Street Plan, allowing the city to move forward with future development. We pursued development of the Hollering Place property with the Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw Indians, which will result in residential and visitor amenities. The council has also worked in the tourism sector and updated the intergovernmental agreement for the Visitor and Convention Bureau to create stability and further investment in tourism promotion. Visitor spending in 2019 was over $277 million in Coos County, and this is in large part due to the local tourism efforts. I'm proud of our groundwork to address homelessness in the city. We created a homelessness task force with community members and social service agencies, and as a result, we've created a community resource officer position dedicated to assisting the needs of the homeless community. We've entered into an agreement with Coos County and Orca to develop low-income housing on the old Inglewood school site. If elected, I would like to focus on what I believe are the most critical issues facing the city today: improved and increased housing stock for low and moderate income families, continued redevelopment of Front Street, economic rejuvenation of the Empire District, and continued rehabilitation and improvement of city streets and roads. Thank you.
Okay, the first question, how would you improve communication between the city government and the citizens?
Well, communication is imperative. We must communicate in any way we can with our citizens. And this was one of our council goals, to improve communication. And over the last 4 years, we increased digital weekly reporting with the Coos Bay Update. We began using our Facebook pages to report out information. We have 4 Facebook pages: the Coos Bay Police Department, Fire Department, the library, and the city. We began live streaming city council meetings. The city will need to continue to utilize technology and social media platforms to increase citizen awareness and participation in council decision-making. We will also need to continue to be responsive to questions of social and economic disparities within our community, and be willing to face the challenges there are about how to improve the quality of life for all of our citizens. City Council is not an us versus them proposition. Rather, City Council's job is to find the we in the work that there is to do and get that work done in a way that acknowledges and encourages citizen engagement and appreciation for differing points of view. I believe success happens best when all who are the we can find ways to work together.
Okay, thank you. The second question, what should be the city's approach to the problem of the unhoused?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question, Alice, because I believe this continues to remain a critical issue for our entire community. Over the last 4 years, Council has done a lot of work in this space that includes creating a temporary lodging ordinance, which allows churches to provide a limited number of temporary emergency shelters. We also created an ordinance to help better track and manage vacant homes. We completed a housing study with other community partners to identify the lack of housing and the critical need of affordable and low-income housing. And in our council meeting this last Tuesday, we accepted the 2020 Coos Bay housing needs analysis. The plan identified that over the next 20 years, we're going to need an additional 600 housing units with a focus on low income and affordable housing options. And really what we learned from the report was due to a lack of overall housing inventory, the low income housing is used by citizens that don't necessarily require it. So I believe we've been given our marching orders, and we should continue to focus on low income housing inventory and what can the city do to incentivize developers and builders to ensure that we have appropriate housing for all of our citizens.
Great. Okay, the next question. Given the continuing crisis of global climate change, what would be your approach to protecting the environment?
You know, I suppose for me, when I think about climate change, I only need to look at the fact that, for the last 8 consecutive weeks, we've had weather that's been in the upper 70s. When I first moved here to Coos Bay 25 years ago, 64 degrees was a hot day. The weather's changing. You can look at the number of forest fires Oregon has experienced over the last few years, and tragically, most recently in the last few weeks. You know, turn on the Weather Channel. You can see the increased number of tropical storms and hurricanes in our nation. You know, this is a global issue, and it's much larger than the city of Coos Bay can address alone. There's not much we can do as a small city, but this goes back to thinking globally and acting locally. And I believe we all have a part to play. Coos Bay has continually been recognized as a tree city. We're hoping next year to change out all of our street lights to LED lights, which will save the city about $50,000 a year. But most importantly, it's better for the environment. I suppose I would also like to explore an incentive or recognition program for green energy practices for business. And I would really be open to hearing from our citizens on what or how they believe we can be better stewards of the land.
Okay. Fourth question, is there waste in the city budget? If so, where would you make cuts and why?
You know, I believe the city is fiscally responsible to its citizens and uses taxpayer dollars prudently and wisely. We do revenue forecasting and we limit our spending to what we have available. We've built a rainy day fund that has over $1 million in that fund to ensure that we can handle an emergency that might affect the city. You know, the city is really aggressive at applying and receiving grants. The city received over $5 million in grant monies to improve Cape Arago Highway. And that included new sidewalks, new lights, street improvement and beautification. The city also received over $2 million in grant monies for the safe routes for school sidewalk project in Inglewood, or in East Side, forgive me, in East Side. And we're almost finished with that. You know, and most recently at our last city council, we approved for the refinancing of the fire station bond, saving the citizens over $844,000 in taxes. Being fiscally responsible is an essential function to any councilor, and one that must be taken very seriously. And I think the city is doing an excellent job.
Great, I think we're ready for wrap up. Okay, you have 1 minute to tell us anything you would like to tell us.
You know, one of the things I've most enjoyed is the cohesiveness of the current council and how well we've worked with one another. When I look at how much we've accomplished over the last 4 years, it gets me excited to think how much more we could accomplish. It's truly my hope that this council has earned your trust and that you will continue to allow us to serve you. I would also like to acknowledge the great work of the League of Women Voters of Oregon and Coos County. It's because of your work that you've done over the years that has quite honestly afforded me the opportunity to serve as a councilwoman for the city of Coos Bay. I thank you for that. And I thank you for giving us all a voice.